Women do not leave relationships because the man cheated. I repeat, women do not leave relationships because of the man cheating. Very bold statement. I will get right into it right now. Here's the thing, guys. The reason why women typically say that they left because of cheating, infidelity, and so forth is because that is a socially acceptable reason for breaking up or leaving. If a girl were to say she left a boyfriend because she cheated, no one is gonna bat an eye. She gets to play the victim, regardless of whether it happened or not. The guy cheated. She gets to play victim and leave the relationship. So that's all she has to say. Her boyfriend cheated. Her husband had an affair. That is a socially acceptable reason for her to leave. That is why women typically go to that reason as to why they left. It is acceptable. If lots of women were to actually be honest and say they left the relationships because the guy was too nice, no one would accept that besides other modern women. That would not be socially acceptable. That would not be a good enough reason for her to end her relationship or marriage. For her to just say, well, my husband, he got too lackadaisical and he got pretty much too boring. I was bored. That's not socially acceptable. That is why women typically try to play the victim on the way out by saying they got cheated on. That is an acceptable reason for them. But I'm here to tell you guys, women are not leaving you because you so-called cheated on them. And by the way, cheating, I don't believe in that term. I don't call it cheating if a man steps out. The guy's exercising options or not, that's fair game to me. I just do not see it as cheating if a man steps out. It is within our nature to have more than one woman. And so I don't view it as cheating. It is not within a woman's biological role or her nature to be going from man to man or to essentially be cheating and being promiscuous. That would be something unnatural for a woman to do. For men, that is what we do. Whoever don't like it, I don't give a damn. All right? Monogamy, being with only one woman, is not natural. All right? I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I know some of you guys already know this. It isn't natural. So if a guy actually commits, he's doing something that is contrary to his nature. All right? And this is going to be the meat and potatoes of this video, which is that whenever you commit or fully commit in a relationship or to a marriage, a woman loses total respect and attraction for you. That's going to be the meat and potatoes of this video. That is what this video is literally about. Here's the thing, guys. Many of y'all don't know this. Well, if you are in the comments on a lot of Red Pill Manosphere videos, in the comment section, you would have already known this, which is that I've been in a 17 years relationship, which has ended last year. So 6 months out. I have 2 kids, with my ex. So we've been together for 17 years. She dumped me last year in October. There's no shame in my game. There's no qualms with me admitting this. I got dumped. Women leave 95% of their relationships. They leave 70-80% of their marriages. They file for divorce. So this tracks with the numbers. This aligns with the numbers. Women leave the vast majority of their relationships. So I'm not impervious to that. So for those who want to say, oh, Kenny got dumped, he got dumped. Dude, that's expected. All right? No matter how alpha you are, dominant you are, good you are, badass rock star you are, women will likely leave you. Doesn't matter, guys. All right? So yes, I got dumped 2025 in October. Now, here's the thing that's very interesting, and it's actually going to blow your mind. I didn't get dumped for cheating, quote unquote cheating. Here's the thing. We've been together for 17 years. Throughout my entire relationship, I had other women. And she knew this because I was forthcoming, I was transparent, and I was upfront with her about that. That I'm gonna have women throughout the relationship. However long it lasts. And I'm telling you, I'm talking about this is 17 years ago when we first met and things had gotten serious. And it got to the beginning of the relationship where the girl sits you down and asks, so what are we, and so forth. So we went through that, and basically, like I said, in no uncertain terms, I let her know that, hey, I'm a pickup artist. This is what I do for a living. This is what I do for a sport. I pick up women. She was privy to everything. She was privy to my blog, to my YouTube videos, my social media posting on Facebook and so forth. So she was not in the dark about me living this promiscuous, playeristic lifestyle. So for those who want to say guys are just lying to women just to get in their pants, get into a relationship, and when they know they actually want to cheat, why don't they just say it at the start? Which I don't advocate, but needless to say, I let her know from the get-go that I am not a monogamous guy. I am not gonna only be dealing with you. I'm gonna have other women. Now, the unspoken agreement, or unwritten and unspoken agreement, was that I wasn't gonna rub it in her face. That was the unwritten and unspoken agreement. I can have other women if I choose to. However, I will not rub it in her face and be out front, at least not around her. In spite of having other women, I kept them on the down low. I kept it on the wraps. So no drama and so forth was ever brought to the household. Because we lived together for the last 7 years or so. We cohabitated. We lived together. I paid 100% of the bills, but that's another story. So yes, she knew I was not going to be monogamous and only dealing with her. She knew that from the jump. With that being said, all throughout the relationship, 17 years worth of it, I had side pieces and other women. That's just what it was. And this is the point I want to make in relation to that point. She never dumped me. Throughout the entire 17 years of the relationship where I knowingly dealt with other women, she never dumped me because of that. I'm not saying she never, had a little spitty spat there and, a little flare up in an argument here and there in relation to me being with other women. Although, like I said, I never rubbed any of it in her face. Everything was kept on the wraps, on the down low, separate from her. So she didn't have to hear about it, see anything, so everything was kept in check. However, women are going to be women, and periodically they're going to bring up stuff in relation to that. So yes, I heard it. However, it was what it was. I never got dumped and left because of cheating. Now, I did get left. I did get dumped. If it wasn't for cheating, why was that? Why did she leave me? Guys, I made the biggest mistake in relationships, male-female dynamics, whether it's a situationship, complicated situation, friends with benefits, be it whatever it may, any form of intimate relationships between man and woman, I committed the ultimate sin, which was I proposed. Prior to that, I got a ring size. I went ring shopping, got the ring. Yes, me. Literally, got the ring. So this was no fake proposal. This was actually literally get down on my knees in the church. And I'm an atheist. I'm an atheist. You know, those who know me already know that I'm an atheist. I haven't been inside of a church in over like 20 years. I don't believe in that. You cannot get me in a church for no reason at all. I'm totally anti-Christianity. I'm anti-God, whatever. I don't believe in any of it. I wasn't always an atheist, but over the last 15 or so years, that's what it led to. I don't believe in any God, any religion. It's all bull poppy, bull crap to me. In spite of that, knowing that she's a churchy kind of girl, I proposed in front of her pastor inside of a church. Went to church for the first time in like I said, 20 something years, since I was damn near a teen. Broke all my rules. I broke all my moral standards, everything I stood for as far as being an atheist and being against the church and never stepping foot in the church again. I broke all of those rules and principles of mine just to propose to my baby mother, my girlfriend of 17 years, with whom we share 2 kids. Broke all my rules and proposed in front of her pastor. Now, quite naturally, you would be tempted to ask, but Kenny, why was that the ultimate sin? Why was that a huge deal as far as you proposing and getting engaged to the woman whom you've been with for the last 17 years? Why was that such a game ender? As I alluded to at the beginning of the video, and probably as the title suggests, guys, whenever you fully commit to a woman, whenever you fully give her monogamy, she loses all respect for you. And the relationship is basically on a time clock. Because look at my situation. As I said, I'm, perfect example of that. For 17 years, in spite of me exercising my options and having other women, meaning I was promiscuous, I was doing my thing. In spite of that, she never left me on those grounds. I was able to do it for 17 years. However, as I proposed to her last year, around February 2025, I proposed. And you're telling me within 7.5 to 8 months, she dumped me. And here's the thing that's also crazier. From the moment I proposed, things started to go downhill. Isn't that something? Could you imagine that? She wanted to get married. So I'm like, okay, cool. I hear you. We've been together for a good while. We have two teen kids together. I was not the marriage type. It took a lot of introspection, meditation, so forth. A lot of outside sources also, family members. Like I said, I weighed everything. I threw all my principles aside. And like I said, proposed. We became engaged. And like I said, almost instantaneously, things started to go south. Her rebellious attitude got triple rebellious. Her unruliness got triple unruly. Her non-cooperative attitude double, triple, quadrupled down. We're talking about a sexless, we have sexless marriages, This wasn't a marriage, but I was like basically in a sexless relationship. I mean, if I was getting it a few times a week, since I proposed, let's say a few weeks after the proposal and we got engaged, I started to get it like once every other week. So I was totally baffled. I'm like, wait, she was totally elated since the proposal and the engagement. She was like excited. She posted on social media in spite of my trepidation and the fact that I didn't want her to go public like this with it, because I'm just not a public guy like that, contrary to popular belief. So she was excited. So I'm like, why on earth is this chick acting this way after I made the biggest commitment that every man can ever make to a woman. You would think from here on out, she would be the most cooperative, submissive, down chick ever. But here it is, the opposite is taking place. I'm not getting any box. 2 weeks, 3 weeks go by, tons of excuses. And like I said, guys, my saving grace is the fact that I had other chicks. And guys, that's one of the beauty of having game, being a PUA, and so forth. When times get tough, you can get it somewhere else. So the fact that she withheld it from me, yes, I was pissy about it. Yes, I was upset. I was perturbed. I was jaded. I was everything you can think, rightfully so. However, at the end of the day, it's like, all right. Hey, what up, Jenny? All right, I'm coming through. Needless to say, there's no reason why I should have been subjected to this sort of treatment from a girl whom I just proposed to and got engaged to. This was totally, it floored me. I mean, like I said, I don't really want to get too deep into it, but like I said, guys, everything that could have gone bad went bad. If we had minor problems prior to the engagement, all of those minor problems escalated and amplified ever since I gave her full commitment. Which goes back to my point, guys. When you fully commit to a girl, you let her down. She would never tell you this because they don't know this. They don't even know this. Women do not understand their own nature. They don't know why they do what they do. They can't explain it. They don't have an idea or an inkling about it. They don't know. They don't know why they lose attraction and interest when a guy proposes or get married. They don't know why. But that is what happens. Again, you might be tempted to ask, okay, Kenny, we hear you. Why is it that women lose interest and attraction, everything for the guy, once he fully commits? Here it goes. Monogamy isn't natural. It isn't natural for a woman to accept. It isn't natural for a man to perform. Women cannot explain this, why they get the ick and turned off once a man fully commits. But that is what it is. We are committing to an unnatural act. It turns women off. The competition dissipates. There's no more competition, in a sense, once you fully commit to the woman. It is the ultimate form of submission. When you commit to a girl, you propose and you get married to a girl, as the guy, you literally submitted to her. Now, which woman respects a guy who submits? No woman on the planet. Look at the marriage rates, right? More divorces than marriages. Women foul 75, 78% of the times. Women are leaving their marriages like it's going out of style. So you know they don't respect the guys whom they married. You know they don't respect their husbands. They're withholding the box from their husbands. Men are in marriages for years and months without getting any intimate communications, no sex. There are studies out there on this. I would have been a statistic also, because here it was over the last 7 months of my relationship, which was heading into a marriage, I was not getting any sex. She was withholding sex from me. How would it have turned out once I married her? I would have been in a sexless marriage. I would have been going for months without any sex. So I would have been a statistic. So men are in marriages and the wives do not respect those men because they committed ultimately to her, to one woman. When you making a commitment to one woman that you would never deal with any other woman, even though this is not in the marriage vows, and I always argue this point in the comment section, a man stepping out or cheating is not going in contravention of the wedding or marriage vows, because there's nothing in the marriage vows that states a man must be sexually faithful or monogamous to his wife. Women only inject and interject that crap in there just for their own purposes and to shame men into not stepping out. But there's nothing in the marriage vows that said a man must be faithful. Needless to say, they lose respect when you fully commit, because the competition anxiety now vanishes, it disappears. There's no competition on the horizon. Women get bored easily, and that is what typically happens. That is what is going to happen. And also in conjunction with that point, the women who do go on to marry, because you might say, but Kenny, but let's say a woman does not respect the guy who gets engaged to her and ultimately become her husband. But Kenny, women still get married anyway. So if they didn't respect the guy because he lost value for proposing, why would they go on to marry? Here's the thing. Great question. If you would ask this, great question. They would still marry the guy for provision reasons. You know, the guy's going to provide. He's going to pay the bills. You know, it benefits her. So she's going to get the beta provider whom she's going to marry. However, she's going to call up Chad or Tyrone to get her rocks off. That's all it is. She's not going to get her rocks off with her husband because he's going to be put on ice. She's going to be withholding the sex from him. He's just there to provide. He's just there as a beta provider. When she wants sex or she wants to get hot and heavy, she's going to call up Chad or Tyrone. So that's why she still goes on to marry anyway, even though she doesn't have any respect for the soon-to-be husband. She knows she's going to be living a double life. However, she gets her cake and gets to eat it too. On one hand, she gets provision from the beta husband. On the other hand, she gets to have unfettered sex with Chad or Tyrone. So it's a win-win for her. So yes, she lost on one end in the sense that she has no respect for the guy who married her. However, on the other hand, she still gets to sneak around. My ex knows she could not have done that crap to me. Hence, she called off the relationship. She called off everything. Like I said, left me. And, like I said, we were cohabitating. And even though both of our names were on a lease and so forth, I got kicked out. I mean, if it went to the law, they weren't gonna put a woman and kids out. I would have been the one who had to go. So in order to avert this and avoid it, I just said, all right, cool, let me just leave. And I bounced, went to my grandma's spot. I stayed with my grandmother for about 2 weeks. And eventually I found a little spot, which is here, where I'm at now. I got dumped and kicked out. So guys, like I said, prior to me getting engaged, prior to me proposing to this woman, I didn't have to go through this. I had ultimate respect. I'm not saying I didn't have ups and downs. I'm not saying I didn't have to, put her in check and check her unruliness. However, it was nothing like it became after the proposal. When I reflect on it, all throughout the relationship, I didn't have these issues. And now all of a sudden, I gave you the ultimate commitment. I proposed, we're getting married, and now you start to act up. Now you start to change and switch up. What part of the game is this? How else could this be explained besides what I mentioned previously and throughout the whole video, which is that women do not respect men who commit. This is even the case for a monogamous relationship. Once you commit to being in a relationship with the girl, and especially if you plan to be monogamous and you told her that it's only you and I, it's only us, she loses respect for you. Taking it to the next step, which is marriage, that's a double whammy. So, guys, my final point on monogamy and why women lose respect once you fully commit. Here's the thing that's also crazy, and it may baffle you, and it did baffle me at one point. Women would meet a guy who's him. They would meet the guy who's the ish. They would meet a guy whom was a player, or a guy who had all the attention of other girls. You know, he had the 666s, the six pack, 6 feet tall. I mean, which is me. You know, I have a six pack. I'm 6'2". You know, I hit on many cylinders. So a girl would meet a guy like me, and she would expect me to only commit to her. That's what's so crazy. Women would meet a guy and then try to change him into a monogamous man. And what's so crazy is if they manage to do this, they will leave the guy. If the playeristic guy whom she got into a relationship with decides to do away with all of his side pieces and his other women, his girl would then in turn lose respect for him and dump him. That is why you always want to keep your other options there or open. Once you get rid of your other options, women will punish you for it because the competition, it gets eliminated. And women need competition in order to stay invested and interested in her relationship or in her man. If she has no competition anxiety, if you totally assure her that there's no other woman in the picture or would ever be in the picture, you literally just nailed your own coffin. She doesn't want to hear that. I don't care what you've heard to the contrary. Women do not get wet and excited once they hear from their boyfriend that I am yours and yours only. I would never cheat on you. I would never have another woman. I don't even look at other women. When you say stuff like that to women, it dries them up in a New York minute. It dries them up. Never tell a woman, your wife, that you will never have someone else. It only turns them off. I didn't have those issues prior to my engagement. I got engaged, and that's when those issues came, which ultimately led to me getting dumped. Okay, guys? Always keep your options open. It's going to save the relationship. It's going to save the marriage. Women need excitement. They need drama. They need competition. If you have no other women, there is no drama to give them. There is no soap opera moment to give them.